Right, we're back live again, Lloyd. How's that? All of a sudden, we're in lockdown. It's talk about deja vu.
Yeah,
crazy
absolutely.
Situation, isn't it?
Yeah, crazy. I think we probably all expected it in some way or another. Maybe not quite as national as it has been, but yeah, I think we were all worried about a second wave, weren't we? So sadly, it's like you say, it feels like deja vu.
I think we need to apologise right at the outset because we're both of us having problems with signals dropping out a bit, but we'll just persevere and give it a go. All right, here we go. Now this is going to be a look back at the league so far. I'll just give a little summary as how I feel about it. To be honest, I think at times we've played some great football, and then at other times we've never quite converted that great football into a winning football, because we've conceded goals in the last minute, we've scored goals in the last minute, we've had too many players sent off, and it's been a bit tough. And one when we didn't think we were going to win. And conversely, we've gone from a situation where we've looked in a very healthy position, but not been able to hang on to our lead. So it's been a frustrating season, Lloyd, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has. It's been very topsy-turvy. I don't think that is just regarding our level and our league either. I think if you look across the whole, well, you can go as far as saying, all football that's returned, whether it's, European, whether it's Premier League, whether it's, professional levels or leagues above, whatever. I think there's a real inconsistency since people were returning. And it's been a difficult sort of 2-3 months really. And for me, it's no coincidence that other leagues are suffering with the same level of inconsistencies as well as we have, and I think that's been, to everyone, it's really frustrating.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what level you follow. I mean, a classic example is the other night. I mean, Arsenal get thumped 3-0 by Aston Villa. There's some really odd results here, there, and everywhere, aren't there? Anyway, let's go back to ours. First game for us was. When I say first game for us, first proper game was away in the FA Cup to Carl Shorten. I didn't go to that, but we lost 5-1. And then after that, I'll just summarise this first little bit. In the league, we went to Sittingbourne, scored after 3 minutes, and ended up losing 3-2. But at times we weren't really in it. So just give me your views on those two, Lloyd.
Well, the FA Cup one was. I think it was probably the toughest draw possible for us. I think there was only 4 teams in the league above that entered our level of the rounds, as in, that was generally it was going to be our level that was going to be in that first preliminary round, I think it was, or extra preliminary round, whatever they call it. Sadly, we drew the team above that was positioned in the highest position from the league before, away from home. So we really did feel that it was an unlucky draw for us. They're taking nothing away from Carl Shorten. They were, if I think they'll be one of the top 2 teams that will finish in the Isthmian Prem next season. We managed to prevent them from doing the things that we wanted them to do for the first sort of 30-35 minutes, and our game plan actually worked really, really well. And eventually, I think their touches of quality shone through, and they went 1-0 up, and then sadly, literally on the stroke of half time, 2-0, and that was probably the killer blow for us. That if we'd have probably held on at 1-0, then it may have got a little bit shaky for them, but. I've got no real complaints from the result. I thought they were a really, really classy team. They did everything really, really impressively. And as I said, it was always going to be a very difficult one, and it was a difficult tie for us. So it was one that we went there with nothing to lose, you could say, and we was quick to try and not let that have a negative effect on our confidence. So that when we were back into the league campaign the following week, that as I said, it didn't sort of stutter our progression. So yeah, we quickly drew a line under that one, and then we moved on to the Sittingbourne game, and we picked up two 2 injuries in, well, 1 injury in warm-up, 1 injury immediately, well, 2 injuries in warm-up, but one was Ollie Rowe was able to continue on till half-time. Yeah, it was, again, just a frustrating game for us. We'd started off brightly. When we let 2, was it 2? Yeah, it was 2, wasn't it? 'Cause it was 2. Yeah, 2 kamikaze goals that we gave away from restarts and set pieces. There was just no explanation for it, and one that we couldn't believe that we conceded because we were so sloppy and switched off from those. When it comes to the second half, our possession was a lot better. We were a lot better. You know, there was lots of passages of play that we did really well, and it just a matter of the one time that they broke from our mistake, they made it 3-1, and you sort of you just giving goals, 3 goals away that were, as I said, from our point of view, were really frustrating. But as I said, second half, there were a lot more positives to come from it. But sadly, by the time we did get the one back from Meds in the last minute or so, it was too late. But disappointing start.
It was. And then our very first at home, when we entertained VCD, we lost that one 4-1. Just to summarise the second one as well, so it gives you more to talk about. That was followed up by an away to Hythe when we won that 2-0. So we lost 4-1 on the back of the Sittingbourne game, and then went away and won at Hythe, which is always a tough place to go. So it was still this bit of inconsistency for you, isn't it? Yeah,
completely agree. First half against VCD, the conditions played an awful big part in that game. It was the wind was blowing. From one end to the other, so you had a bit of an advantage, and we didn't really seize upon that advantage in the first half. We went 1-0 up, and then second half, whether or not it was the effect of the week before, where we just didn't feel that we'd done ourselves justice, and whether or not that's sort of hanging over the players' heads a little bit, that they're with the Carl Shilton one, which we wanted to draw a line under. Again, we sat down at the Sittingbourne game and said, right, okay, that's not us. We've gifted 3 mistakes here. That's not what we're about. And then again, we rolled onto the first half against VCD. We did okay. We managed the conditions fairly well. And then second half, it was just error after error, and it was the young boys. They really got sort of kicked in the teeth, and every opportunity that the VCD seemed to have, they stuck it in. Very workmanlike side, very physical, very strong. And again, we walked away with that 4-1, and I had no complaints about the result. The players didn't either. So it was, roll your sleeves up and get back to what we want to do, because that wasn't the start that we wanted. So we had a good, good couple of sessions that week. We rolled on into Hythe, and again, you can sit here and you can, I said before, you can tear paint off the walls, or you can, throw cups of tea about, and you can start, effing and blinding at the players. But you look at those players, and they're all honest lads, and you just know that, I know that they're hurting just as much as I was. So by the time you come into the Hythe or preparation for the Hythe game, again, we've done our due diligence, and we'd looked at all the work that we felt was going to be beneficial to us and how we can prevent them. And as I said, we got a really, really good result. Workmanlike, tough. We needed to roll our sleeves up. We felt that we felt as a group that we were very disappointed in our efforts and our display against VCD. So we had a point to prove. And as I said, 2-0 for us. I thought that was a really, really good result, because I know that they weren't doing so great, but nor were we, to be honest. And we'd lost the first 2 games, and as I said, we needed a backlash and a reaction, and I was pleased with the boys how they responded. Yeah, it really sort of put the couple of losses, the one at Sittingbourne and the VCD one, to bed, because then it gave you the confidence, the lads the confidence, and the supporters as well, that we've got a half decent side. And then that was reaffirmed with a win away at Three Bridges. You can recap on that one, and also at home to Burgess Hill. Three Bridges, we came back from the dead almost to win 3-2. What a game that was. And then the Burgess Hill one, which we won 1-0, and Dan saved a penalty in that game. But you your votes on the Three Bridges. I know the supporters have had a lot to say about it, but it was a great game, wasn't it? Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was a great game. Tuesday night game away at Three Bridges is always a difficult tie. Now, whether or not you're managing people's players, work commitments, but again, it's more so in times like they are, where whether it's COVID related, we don't have many buses or coaches that can take us there because of the situation that's going on. So we are in a position where players are having to make their own way there at times instead of car schooling because of bubbles and COVID restrictions and etc. etc. So all those little things can play a massive part. So when you are drawn away at Three Bridges on a Tuesday night, it adds to the complications. They went, they go 2-0 up. They went 2-0 up.
2-0 up. Yeah.
Penalty that won a penalty. We went in. We started playing the way that they wanted us to play. We were playing far too direct. I'm screaming from the sidelines, doing my nutting after half an hour because I just wanted us to keep and retain possession because I knew that they would struggle with it. And it took us half an hour. By then, you're 2-0 down, so you've given yourself a massive, massive uphill battle. And after half an hour, we actually finally realised that we could pass the ball about a bit and we're not a bad side. So whether it's the confidence of the two, confidence over a period of 2-3 games that maybe kicked us in the teeth a little bit, but all of a sudden we were then able to move the ball around. It's a decent surface, to be fair, to Three Bridges because it's usually not that great. But when we got there, the benefits of having a lockdown, I suppose, they enabled them to be able to produce a really good playing surface. And like I said, after half an hour, we then started moving the ball around. And if you watch the goal, I think it was from Millbank's free kick. The pattern of play and the phase that we'd worked before, it was very, very retention based, and we were able to get ourselves in a position where we were on the stroke of half time, get ourselves back in the game, and that was massive for us. That was absolutely massive. I do believe that they should have had a couple of players sent off in that game. That's not just me saying. That's not just me. Maybe sour grapes, if you were. But I thought the refereeing performance in that one was probably one of the weakest I've ever seen at this level. So we realised at half time that if we keep the ball, move the ball, we'll not only frustrate them, we'll not only cause more problems for them, but we'll get ourselves back in. And to be honest, even when it went to the last 5-10 minutes of normal time, because I know the referee added on, that was the only good thing he did, to be fair. But by the time it got to sort of like 80-85 minutes, I still felt that we were going to get an equaliser. I just felt that, we were knocking on the door so many times and our work was really, really good that the least the boys deserve was a point for their endeavour and how much they worked in that second half to get themselves back in. So when Gilly played a lovely through ball for Millbank and Millbank stuck his one away for the second goal, and it was still, the referee then added I think he added 8 minutes of injury time on top, which was fair because they delayed the game from start of the second half. They would, it was that blatant. So. And then we brought young Mohammed on. He's always capable of nicking a goal, and it was a gamble. As I said, we brought Victor on just before. We threw Mohammed on and said, "Go on, kid." And I said to him before the game, I was like, "You're going to get a chance. You'll get a chance. Don't panic. Just you get an opportunity, then trust your ability." And to be fair, it was an amazing finish, right at the death. I think you can probably see the videos. We're all jumping about, going absolutely balmy. It was it was a really, really nice finish to a game that I felt over the course of probably the 90 minutes, if you deduct the 30 minutes from the beginning, over the course of the whole game, I thought that was what we deserved.
Yes, it was very, very entertaining, nerve-wracking. I mean, how you cope with that, I don't know. One of the boys put on social media about your dance, because obviously your hip is still not as it should be, let's say, and your dance was quite funny because one minute you looked as if you were going to run down to the corner flag, and then thought it was right.
Yeah, I thought better of it. I thought better of it. Yeah, as I said, I wasn't meaning to be dancing around and hobbling around, but again, you can't control those emotions when you nicked a 97th minute winner. You lose control of yourself, really. And I think I ended up jumping on Levy and the physio and jumping on Ada, and I think Ben was one of the directors was behind the goal, so I jumped on him behind the dugout, which I jumped on him. But again, it was great, and I was really, really pleased for young Mohammed. As I said, it was a great introduction into his first goal at senior level and a competitive level. And I don't think he's going to top that, to be perfectly honest. The finish was quite outstanding. And I think the good thing was as well is that immediately, you see the reaction of the players as well, and everyone's jumped on Mohamed afterwards, and that was a really nice touch for the kid. And yeah, I was really pleased, especially for him.
It was lovely. It really was. Right, home to Burgess Hill. We won that 1-0. Dan saved a penalty, and then that was followed up by the Hythe game. And I'll leave you to give your views on that. Yeah.
Burgess Hill again. It was a very workmanlike performance. We'd had them watched through a scout of ours, and there was quite a bit of video analysis that we were able to gain on them, not only from this season, but you're also able to gain from the analysis, or should we say the recordings that we'd done the previous season. So we were able to revisit those and look back on certain things and certain patterns that they may have. So again, the benefit of that video analysis was working great, because we now had a sort of memory bank of all the games that we'd had previously that we were able to then use, to be able to help. So. 1-0. The goal itself was really good. I remember the goal itself. Meds and Millbank linked up well. We've been changing our shape around a little bit because injuries. All injuries, to be perfectly honest. We were then trying to put people in their rightful positions, as opposed to, as I said before, satisfying my tactical sort of requirements or needs and what I feel is the best formation. But we went to a shape that, as I said, was probably putting the players in their correct positions to be able to work that. It worked well. Meds and Millbank were up front. Meds played great delivery. TJ broke lines, and TJ got a diving header on the back post, which was a really, really, really good goal. And then the longer the game, we said at half-time, don't give any silly opportunities away. Let's make sure we continue to do what we do. Our ball retention needs to be better. 2 minutes into the second half, their right winger dances in from out to in, which is a cardinal sin for us. They cannot do that. If you're showing them down the line, you show them down the line. They cannot step inside. 2 minutes into the second half, the guy dances inside and we give away a penalty. And I'm like, we've just gone through these exactly the scenarios that cannot happen. And it was those sort of silly mistakes that were happening continuously, which were really, really beginning to eat away at me. Fortunately for us, as we know, Dan saved the penalty, and then I think we had a couple of other chances. It was probably a fair game, quite a close game in towards the second half. But as I said, by the time they then started to bombard the box, put balls into the box from their middle third as opposed to their final third, I knew that then we were in a much more comfortable position. So although 1-0, probably, Dan saving a penalty, that's the last half an hour of game when they're resorting to having to put the ball in the box from the middle third of the pitch. I think you can take that. It's different if they're carving you open and creating opportunities. They weren't. It was a very, very, very sound second half, apart from the penalty. Second half defensive display, and then, as I said, and when Dan comes up and not only saves the penalty, but he's extremely reliable. Any ball in the box he dealt with. As I said, it was lots of positives to take from that, and more importantly was the 3 points in the result. So happy day.
Well, before we go on to the next game, which was the FA Trophy away, which I didn't.
I've got the Hythe game to talk about, haven't I? I've got the Hythe game to talk about. Well, we'll brush over that as quickly as possible. I just want to say that that was a crazy day. If you look at the statistics from that game, Hythe had 8 shots, we had 6. And if you look at that and turn around and say, okay, well, what's the result going to be from that 8? You wouldn't never think it's going to be 6-0. No. Everything they hit went in. We defended extremely poorly. Again, I have to bring up the simple fact that the penalty for the first, it wasn't a penalty. I've got it on video analysis. It's absolutely blatant. It is not a penalty. And so things weren't quite going our way. That is no excuse from the simple fact that the way that we couldn't defend set pieces. They had 9 set pieces and 9 corners, and I think they scored from 4 of them or 5 of them. And that was wow. As I said, and I mentioned about the little silly mistakes that we'd made at Sittingbourne, the little silly mistakes that we'd made the week before the 3 days before against Burgess Hill. Those things were coming really, really quite. They were the one consistent part of our game, as opposed to everything else that was inconsistent. So what we were consistently doing was making mistakes. Why we were doing that, I don't know. Was it an element of fitness? Was it an element of lack of concentration? Was it quality? Was it a case of the 6-7 months that we'd, or 3, 4, 5 months, however long it was that we'd had off, is that now caught up with the players? Because there's now that element of, like I say, there's lots of different things that could contribute to why we were making such silly mistakes, but they were consistent, and that was the problem. So it's not like it's one game and, you know, one game a month you go, okay, Christ, you know, we made a mistake. It wasn't. It was happening week in, week out, and that for me was massively alarming. So yeah, the 6-1 was 6-0. That, you know, they deserved it. Although probably the statistics say that I don't think it was quite a 6-0 job. I don't, but it was certainly, considering we come off the back of 3 wins, to then be brought back down to earth quite sharply. That was, like I said, that was a concern.
Yeah. What I wanted to touch on now, before we go on to the FA Trophy game away, which I didn't go to, so I'll leave that in your hands. But I'd like to talk to you and get your comments about injuries at the moment, because they seem to be mounting up as the league went on. What's the state of play at the moment with your boys?
Okay, so there's probably going to be players that I miss here. So a week before the start of the season, or should we say just as we were coming into pre-season, Jake McKenzie had to pull out through issues I don't really need to go into. But Jake McKenzie was sadly going to be unavailable for us. Completely understood Matt Macca's situation, and as I said, anyone that understands the reasons why will be completely support. He had the support of myself and the support of the club. So we missed Jake McKenzie the week before. So arguably one of the best right backs we have, or should we say we've had in the league. There's been consistency wise, if we're talking about consistency. Ollie Rowe kept picking up niggly injuries, which was frustrating not only for Ollie, but frustrating for us. It was difficult. There was a couple of players that were lacking in form. He said whether that was the knock-on effect of the time and break we'd had off, so their form was being affected. Harry Stannard lasted sadly 2 games in pre-season, a game in pre-season, or should we say 2 weeks into pre-season, and he had a reoccurrence of his groin issue that was the same one that he'd had the last year, and now it was flaring up even more so. Liam King played 3 games for us in pre-season. His new knee balloon the size of a beach ball, and he's waiting for more work. Ollie Rowe, it's not looking good. We're still waiting on further news, being able to go and see a physio face to face. Everything he's been doing a bit like us on a video call because of the restrictions and what's going on. But Ollie Rowe's knee doesn't look great, so I think we have to rule him out for the mid to long term. That's a really. So when you go over Harry Stannard, Jake McKenzie, Liam King, Ollie Gray, Ollie Rowe, you're now sitting here going, right, okay, that's 5 strong injuries. We then picked up Jay Hards, we had a great pre-season for us. He then picked up a really bad ankle injury. That was 6. I think I counted 8 at one time. We went into a game with 8 injuries, and it was 8 players unavailable, 7 through injuries and 1 through Macca's case, which we knew about. Yeah. And I hear an awful lot about from other clubs, and you know, whether or not you read certain news reports or everyone's going through exactly the same. Everyone is exactly the same. You know, we started our pre-season work the day that we were allowed. The day that we were allowed to get people in the group, the boys were doing their own stuff. So I think we had at one stage we were allowed bubbles of 5, which was very hard to put on team training sessions. So players were out doing their own bits. The moment that we were allowed to get together as a group, we did. So we did the longest pre-season that we could possibly do with the. So fitness, I don't think was an issue. Sadly, there were players that were coming back, which is another thing you have to take into consideration. So players were coming back into pre-season after being 3-4 months out of work, and then having to go and do work whilst then coming to training, and sometimes had to miss a training session because they needed the work because they've been out of job for the last 3-4 months. So there was loads and loads and loads of little things that may have played a contributing part in players' fitness, or should we say their form. But as for where we are at this moment, if there is a what's the word,
silver lining.
Yeah, exactly the word I'm looking for. If there is a silver lining with what's happening at the moment, you'd like to think that it's going to give those boys an opportunity now to, one, to work on their fitness, which I'll touch upon in a moment, and secondly, to be able to heal sort of niggly injuries that may have happened over the last 2, 3, 4 months. So, you know what, I don't want to use an excuse. Every manager has had it. Everyone has had it. And that, again, you know, I could easily just turn around and say we've been really unlucky. Well, we have, but then also read what everyone else has. Everyone else has been unlucky as well, because there have been a lot of injuries and a lot of during this time. But it didn't allow us to be able to be consistent with our team selection. It didn't be able to allow us to be consistent with our performances. And as I said, really, we were sort of going in week to week, unsure of what performance level we were going to give. And you know, we had 3 great performances, and then all of a sudden we had, you know, the poor performance against VCD second half, the poor performance against Hythe, and then also you didn't know how it was going to go. And again, I talk about the 6 months previously having a key factor on it. I believe that's the case.
Yeah, very, very fair and honest comments all the way through, which I'm sure all the supporters would appreciate. Away to Ashford, not our Ashford, Ashford Middlesex. We lost that 1-0. There were 5 yellow cards in that game, 1 for us and 4 for them. I mean, I wasn't there, so I can't really say, but they scored after 8 minutes, and of course that 1 goal, and apparently it was a worldie, wasn't it? Yeah. And then that puts us on the back foot. And then after that, we were away to East Grinstead. That was a 2-2 draw. But I'll let you run through those 2 now. Yeah,
so the Ashford one, again, you know, we'd come off. That was the back of the Hythe game, wasn't it? Yeah, it was the back of the Hythe game.
Yep.
So again, back in training on a Thursday, make sure that we are, you know, we're regrouping. We do everything we can, prepare ourselves the best we can. I think the one thing, like you say, it's easy to go in on a Thursday, run the hell off the players and say that's unacceptable, but that's old school. You know, it's not really. It's a case of now getting those boys back into a frame of mind that now they're prepared to go and be positive and do the right things. And we knew that Ashford, again, I had them watched, again, had scouting reports, we had videos, everything. It was really, really good. So we've got a scout that's doing that. It's marvellous. We knew that they were very, very direct. Play a diamond in midfield. How can we suffocate them? How can we do this? Where can we exploit them, etc., etc. What they were was extremely direct, extremely physical, and very, very non-league. Very, very non-league. That's, you know, and I was speaking to their manager afterwards, Greg, and it's exactly how he set them up. So they played a massive ball from a goal kick, smashed it upfield. We've competed for the first header. It's popped out to their guy, and he's done this scissor kick from sort of like 25 yards, and it's flown like a rocket into the top corner. And he's, you know, you speak to Dan Easton afterwards, and he said, I was waving the white flag the moment it hit his foot because it was just, you know, it was, I want to say it 1 in a million. Fair play, the guy's deliberately done it. But you sort of go, right, okay, maybe that's just the way things are going for us. We then miss a great opportunity about 20 minutes later. You know, fair play to TJ. Gets, you know, got the ball out wide. We moved the ball really well. The 1 or 2 passages of play that we were able to move the ball quickly, and we did. And again, TJ broke lines like he done. And sadly, unlike the Burgess Hill game where he was able to put the header in, this time his header coming, the keeper made a really, really good save. And to be honest, they were the only 2 real chances in the game. Everything was close. Everything was competitive. It was very, very physical. But generally, it was played in the right spirit. I don't think there was any nastiness about it. But yeah, those were the fine margins. You know, we had an opportunity and sadly we didn't take it. They had an opportunity, or should we say half opportunity, and the guy, as I said, he could probably hit that 100 times and may only hit 1. But it was a great strike. I don't want to take that away from him. But those were the fine margins. So, you know, they then went to Hastings in the next round, and Hastings only beat them, I think, on a penalty shootout. So it goes to sort of show, you know, the level of the side that they are. They are fairly decent. They are big. They're strong, they're physical. But I thought we coped with that physicality really well. Any entries into the box we wanted to deal with, because we were coming off the back of the Hythe game where we were saying every time the ball was in the box, we look shaky. So we make sure we deal with it correctly. And to be fair to the boys, they did. So even on the back of that 1-0, I mean, you would say that there was an improvement really in the application from the lads. Yeah, I agree. Certainly from the Hythe game, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. The Hythe game just came down to guilt errors. Like, just obvious, blatant errors. We weren't tight enough, and it's not about sort of someone being honest or are they cheating? I just looked at it, and it was there's the basics of doing things right. The aggressiveness, the physical contact, the being tight to your man to prevent him from making. There was that lack of bite that was really, really frustrating. And there to see, it was the same against the VCD in the second half. And for all the times that we want people, encourage our team to play, and let's keep possession and return. If you don't have that bite on the out of position, or if you're not willing to die and restrict chances or restrict opportunities, then the Hythe game is a perfect example that you can get turned over by an experienced side that know how to play the game. And that was something that, like I said, it was. So when we came into the Ashford one, we had to make sure that we did all that. And we did all that well when we played against Ashford. Sadly, like I said before, the result was from an outstanding strike. The continuation from that was that we moved on to, we're positive, as you said, continuing, we moved on to East Grinstead. And what we then did with the budget, then we know that East Grinstead, I believe they'll be up there in this year with the resources that they seem to have and the players that they've acquired. We set up with the work that we've done during the week, we set up with back to the original shape that I like, and back into a position where we had everything. This was our game plan. This is how we're looking to exploit it, and it worked perfectly. Frustrate the life out of them. Their back three can have it. We can plug gaps. We can low press, and then when we get an opportunity on the counter attack, we do it. And we're resilient and we're strong and frustrate the life out of them. And we did. And we did it we did it all game. They then had to. Go on.
I say we were 2-1 up, and they scored in the 90th minute.
Yeah, 90th minute, and it's a ball into the box from a corner, which we've dealt with. So we've cleared the header. There's we've got a 1v1 duel on the edge of the box to stop them, and it was a duel that the guys managed to just hook back in over the top, and he's gone 40, 50 feet up into the air, right underneath Dan Eason, and their centre forward has just charged into Dan to stop him getting the ball. And Dan can't now do anything because the ball bounced out and the guy stuck it in the 93rd minute to equalise. And we've gone charging, man. If there's a kick in the teeth that you say, right, the boys don't deserve that, it's that. For one, when you read their interviews afterwards and their player reports afterwards, and you listen to their news reports afterwards, they all conceded they all admitted it was a blatant foul. It was, they can't say that, but what they're saying is, oh God, if that had gone the other way, we would have been disappointed. Well, that's them saying that it's a blatant foul. And those are the little rubs of the green that we weren't getting. We weren't getting, and we deserved the 3 points from that. They admitted that it didn't quite go for them. But over the course of the season, you like to think those things even themselves out. But sadly, that one was a real disappointing. Not disappointing. Disappointed. The good thing is we were disappointed that we didn't win the game. And that that's to go away to East Grinstead with I think they'd won their first 3 or 4 games. They were unbeaten in the league, or they were winning one all the time. We were the first team to take points off them, and to be honest, we should have taken all 3. But we were disappointed it was only 1. But again, that was kind of how we felt we performed. That we were only disappointed to get 1 point against them. So again, a lot of positives from it.
Yeah, good summary. That very good. And then we were home to Cray Valley PM. That we drew that 1-1. There were 8 yellow cards in that game, 4 each. There was a very weak referee in that. It's a weird one. And then the last game before lockdown, away to VCD, we lost that 2-0. That was a one where, to my mind of seeing it, you can. The first 0 we were, the win was just such an advantage to them. How they didn't go 3 or 4 up, I don't know. But and then at half time there was no wind. For as far as we were concerned. But first of all, the Cray Valley PM game.
Yeah, again. Almost a carbon copy of what I was just talking about with East Grinstead. They're going to be a side that are going to be right up there. Really, really, really good side. We tactically, I felt we got it right. Scored immediately. I think it was after a couple of minutes. I think TJ, wasn't it? TJ on the edge of the box. He's managed to curl one in from the corner. Great finish. I think we had another couple of half opportunities. We restricted them first half really, really well. And second half, we did everything right. Sounds like I'm moaning at referees, because on the last lockdown, I tried to stay away from moaning at referees. But again, I've got a video. It's just criminal. You know, we're 1-0 up. TJ goes through and keeper makes a really good save. 2-0, the game's over. 2 minutes later, Jay Hards goes through and their guy absolutely just takes him, wipes him clean out. And again, it's, you know, it's blatant. So that's 2-0, or possibly, you know, whether it's TJ's or the penalty, it's 2-0. And we then, like I said, 93rd, 94th minute, whatever it was, disappointed that it came from our throw-in down in the corner. So we ended up sort of losing possession from a corner and then not reacting to the ball hooked into the box. It bounces around, and it's just, you know, you want it to fall to one of us just to boot the ball clear, but it just seems to rattle around, and no matter how close we try and get it, it's not quite close enough. And it comes to their guy who smashes one in from sort of the edge of the box, and it goes through 2 players' legs, and, you know, in the only corner that Dan can't save it. So you're like, oh God, that's tough for the boys, because that was really, really, again, another really, really good performance. And sadly, that was one time I did go into the change room afterwards, and I wasn't happy, because I felt that for where we wanted to be and for how close we were against, you know, gaining 6 points against those 2 teams, we didn't do it. That and I had to let the players know that I was with them 100% for their effort and for their work, fine. But those are the fine margins that I felt that, you know, I know we played a couple more games than anyone else, but those 6 points, or those 4 points that we dropped, would have seen us second or third. And that to us was like, we've let that slip. And I wanted us to all be aware that was, you know, the severity and the importance of the situation, that in the last minute of a game, we have to do things right, you know, all the time, because otherwise you get punished and a sin. I don't think the East Grinstead one was the fault of the players, far from it. I thought the second guy, or thought the Cray Valley one was, and that was why I felt, that's why I wasn't quite happy. But again, that's me being extremely picky, and the players know that. You know, I'll always pick up on those things, but generally, I couldn't have been prouder of them to be in those 2 games against 2 good opposition, that we've walked away disappointed that we haven't won. So really, that's a positive trait.
Yeah, gotcha. And then away to ECD, and that, as I say, was wind assisted first half, definitely.
What was the first goal? First goal, guy danced outside, and danced outside and got a shot off, and Marcus Elliott in the 6-yard box, like a little poacher's goal, managed to stick one in. It was pretty scrappy first half. Like you say, the wind I don't think helped. We had a couple of half decent opportunities when I watched the video back last week. We did have a couple of decent opportunities first half. So 1-0 down at half time, you know, we weren't too concerned. I just felt that really, if we just up our work a little bit and better with our retention, and the other thing was our final delivery, sort of, you know, our work in the final third. So we were comfortable with how we were operating, but when it got into the final third, our final decision, the killer pass, or it was either rushed, wasn't enough quality, and then it showed second half. When we played them second half, I think ball retention wise, I would say we were probably on top by about 60-65%, and we were looking to go forward, created sort of half opportunities, but every time we got into a final third, we lacked that little bit of guile, creativity, and patience at times as well. And it just broke, and it just kept breaking down, and that was really frustrating for us. Again, the boys worked extremely hard to get themselves in those positions, and they're just like, oh God, you know, they're feeling just as disappointed I am that they haven't been, you know, it hasn't quite worked out for them. And then they scored their second one. I think poor Dan, you know, if there's one person that I'm never going to blame for a mistake, it's Dan Eason, because as I said, he's dug us out of plenty of times before. But Dan missed a punch from the corner, and it disappeared into the, you know, the ball trickled into the corner because Dan missed a punch, and you sort of go, oh God, you know, we've been peppering them for the last, or should we say working well for the last 15-20 minutes. And again, in the last part of the second half, I don't think they really caused us many problems. But, you know, 2-0, The one summary for me was that, as I said, we got ourselves into good opportunities in good positions, and we just lacked that little bit of quality and composure in the final third. Flacky got injured quite badly, which was disappointing, because he does have that element of composure in the final third where he can pick a pass and we can do things. But as I said, for all the hard work and all the huff and puff, we just didn't really create anything in the final third, which was frustrating for us.
Yeah, that injury to Flacky was really a nasty one, wasn't it? And
yeah,
again, weak referee. To be honest, I mean, to me that was a straight red. But there you go.
Yeah.
You know, they don't seem to wave the flags about like they did. How's his ankle? By the way?
Yeah, it's okay. Fortunately, I don't know if you've seen there was a nasty picture of it straight afterwards. We were really concerned that it broke his ankle. But he hadn't. He's just got a really severe bruising across the top of his ankle and the top of his shin. Luckily, although his leg was planted, it seems that he was able to get his foot out of the turf before, because if he hadn't, I dread to think what the result of that injury could have been. I don't think it was. I think it was a nasty tackle. It was a bad tackle. I don't think the guy's gone in with any malice. I must admit, I don't think he's gone in to do Flacky. That's 100%. He hasn't tried to do that. But I don't think the player was in control of the tackle, and that's resulted in Flacky getting quite a nasty injury. My gut feeling was it was a red card straight away. But I've spoke to a few people about it, and they sort of thought maybe it wasn't, maybe it was. It seemed to happen quite quickly, but. Like I said, I'm not going to go over too much on that one. As I said, it's sometimes they give it, sometimes they don't. You don't know.
No. Well, as ever, that was a nice way to catch up with everyone. Our session with yourself and him going out live within the next couple of weeks. So we're going to try and get something organised, and nothing confirmed yet. But as soon as it know, and what it'll be like an open session, invited guests on to come on and just put their questions to you and the chairman, but it will be broadcast live, so it's as close as we can get to a manager's and chairman's question time. So we'll see how it goes.
Look forward to it.